Your phone can tell you're slipping into a low mood before you've admitted it to yourself. Not from what you write, from how your thumb moves. And the unsettling part isn't that it knows. It's who's allowed to look. Think about the last time you had a flat day. Nothing dramatic. You just felt off, and somewhere in that day you picked up your phone, the way you do 100 times without thinking, and started typing a message. You typed a little slower. You paused longer before hitting send. You hit backspace more. You scrolled without really reading. None of it felt like anything. It felt like being tired. But to the software running on your phone, those tiny changes aren't nothing. They're a pattern. And before this video's over, I'm going to show you the strangest thing about that pattern, that the exact same signal, which could help a doctor catch a depressive episode early, is the thing an advertiser would pay a fortune to see. Same signal, two very different futures. Here's how it actually works. The field behind this has a clinical sounding name, digital phenotyping. Strip away the jargon, and it just means using the ordinary way you touch a device to make inferences about what's going on inside your head. And your thumbs leak more than you'd think. When researchers study typing, they're not reading what you write, they're reading how you write it. The milliseconds your finger rests on a key, the gap between one tap and the next, how often you correct yourself. They call it keystroke dynamics. And it's metadata, data about your behavior, not the content of your messages. Hold on to that distinction, because it's the whole reason this is so hard to escape. But first, why your typing gives you away at all. There's a symptom in depression that clinicians have recognized for over a century: psychomotor slowing. When someone slides into a depressive state, their physical movements can get measurably slower, including the fine motor movements in their hands. Their thinking slows too. And here's the thing about your phone: you type on it constantly, which means it's quietly sitting on one of the richest continuous records of your fine motor function that has ever existed. No clinic visit, no survey, just you texting a friend at midnight. So can a machine actually read that? In 2019, a study published in the journal Scientific Reports took typing patterns collected in the wild on people's own phones and trained a model to sort people with depressive tendencies from those without, using nothing but the rhythm of their typing. No questionnaire, just the timing. Now, that study was small, a couple dozen people. So on its own, it's a clue, not a verdict. But here's where it stops being a one-off. By 2025, researchers at the University of Illinois Chicago found that smartphone typing speed reliably predicted things like processing speed and mental flexibility, and the link between slower typing and slower thinking actually got stronger as depressive symptoms increased. In other words, the worse someone felt, the louder the signal got. The technology isn't standing still, it's sharpening. And I want to be honest with you, because the honesty is the interesting part. The scientists themselves are careful. One MIT researcher who works on exactly this technology has openly said she doubts a single signal like typing could ever diagnose something as complex as depression on its own. So this is a thermometer, not a diagnosis. It can tell you something's running hot without telling you why. Keep that in mind, because the people who want this data don't necessarily need a diagnosis, they just need the temperature. So who's actually using this? For a while, it lived almost entirely in research labs and a handful of mental health startups. And the pitch there was genuinely good. A company called MindStrong built an app that analyzed how you type, scroll, and swipe specifically to catch the early signs of a depressive episode, so a clinician could step in sooner. Used with your consent for your own care, that's a hopeful idea. That's the future where this saves lives. Here's the other future. The same behavioral signals that flag a depressive episode are exactly the kind of signals the broader data economy is built to harvest, and your emotional state is one of the most valuable things about you. Someone who feels low and impulsive does not shop the way someone calm and confident does. They don't click the same ads. They don't make the same late-night purchases. Knowing how you feel isn't a privacy footnote. It's a commercial edge worth real money. And now that distinction from earlier comes back to bite, because none of this requires anyone reading your private messages. A keyboard app sees every keystroke without seeing a single sentence. A social app measures exactly how long you hover on a post before you scroll past. The behavior is the product, which means the usual advice, be careful what you type, misses the point entirely. It was never about what you typed. But here's the part most people don't see coming. The unsettling thing isn't that something can tell you're sad. It's the timing. These shifts can show up in your behavior before you've consciously named the feeling. You think you're just having an off week. Meanwhile, the slowing, the hesitation, the changed rhythm, already measurable. So a model watching your phone could register the dip before you do, not because it's smarter than you, because it's staring at one narrow thing relentlessly with perfect memory while you're busy living your life. And that quietly flips the whole privacy conversation. We're used to worrying about companies knowing what we did, what we bought, where we went, who we called. This is more intimate than any of that. It's a system forming a read on how you feel continuously from signals you never knew you were broadcasting. So what do you actually do about it? Not panic. A lot of this is still emerging, and some of it genuinely exists to help, but you can be deliberate. First, check your keyboard. If you're using a third-party keyboard app, look at what it collects. Your phone's built-in keyboard is usually the more private choice because it isn't in the business of selling your behavior. Second, audit the permissions on anything in the wellness, mood, or journaling category. Ask one blunt question. Does this app actually need to send my behavior to a server to do its job? A lot of them don't. Third, if you do want mood tracking, and it can be a real tool, pick apps that process your data on the device itself and say so plainly. The good ones are proud of it. And here's the honest limit. You can't fully opt out of being a person who types on a phone. The goal was never to disappear. It's to understand that the rhythm of your thumb is information and to decide on purpose who gets to read it. Because there's something quietly profound here. The most ordinary thing you do, tapping out a message to someone you love, now carries a readable trace of how you're really doing. In the right hands, that could catch something dangerous early. In the wrong ones, it's surveillance of the most private thing you have, your own state of mind. So let me leave you with this. If your phone could gently tell you on a hard day, hey, you've seemed off lately, would you want it to? Or is how you feel the one last thing that should stay yours and only yours? Let me know down in the comments.